This is the MG3 Hybrid Plus.
And this is the Honda City Hatchback RS.
And you're watching CarGuide.PH. So next, if you were to see both of these cars in the parking lot, which one grabs your attention more?
If I'm going to be honest, they actually look very similar. The only huge difference is the wild color that this Honda City Hatchback has. And other than that, I think you covered like the differences between the old face and the new face. Because other than that, it's the same Honda City Hatchback that everyone loves today.
That's absolutely right. Now, that is compared to the MG3 right here. This one is completely new to the market. It's been launched or previewed at the Manila International Auto Show, and it's just gone on sale. In terms of looks, I don't know, Nix, what do you think? For me, it's a love or hate thing, right? I mean, it looks like a guppy goldfish type thing.
Well, maybe for you. For me, it's like it's very conventional, and like I'm a simple guy. Conventional's okay for me. I don't want anything too wild, but having that said, I like the implementation of Honda with the City Hatchback. Like, it's wild, but it's not like overly aggressive.
Well, yeah, you have a point there. I mean, it's surprising because both of these vehicles, for example, run on 16-inch alloy wheels, but somehow in the city, it just looks more aggressive.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then other than that, the sides are very similar. But if I think there's a huge difference, it's the trunk.
Yes, because dimensionally, both of these vehicles are more or less the same. This one, the MG3, is actually shorter by quite a bit, but it's wider and taller. And that has sort of affected the trunk space because compared to the City Hatchback, it's way smaller. To make the problems even worse for the MG3 is that it has no spare tire, because this is where the hybrid battery is.
Oh yeah, that's right. So no, it has a tire repair kit, and that's just about it.
Now, normally small hatchbacks like these would have the rear seats flip down. This one only flips down in one go. So it becomes a two-seater if you need to put in luggage, and that could be a problem if you do those hatid sundo to the airport type things, right?
Or for like people like me that can turn this to a three-seater and maximize the space.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, this is where the Honda City Hatchback shines. So, as you said a while ago, this has actually even more room. And if that one, because the rear seat's more slanted, this is like on the more upright side. And because of that, it has more vertical clearance. And as you can see here, it has a 60-40 split. So, you can be very creative with the cargo.
Yeah, if you fold it down also, it creates this long flat space, which you don't get in the MG3. And bonus, you get a spare tire. Yeah.
And the big advantage of like Hondas in general, like most of their cars, have what they call the ULTR seats, which is basically a host of configurations that you can set up the car with when it comes to interior space.
Yeah, so that's why if you're thinking of buying a small SUV, the City Hatchback can actually change your mind in that regard.
Okay, and with that being said, let's check the interior of the Honda City Hatchback. Okay, so now we're inside the Honda City Hatchback RS, and I actually noticed a good number of differences from the previous phase. One of them being the instrument cluster over here. It seems like it's bigger, but I guess it's to accommodate the Honda sensing in this car.
Yes, that's actually the biggest difference between the old Honda City Hatchback and the new one, because in the new one, they integrated Honda sensing.
Oh, nice, nice. And then the cup holders look similar from the last one, and you have the USB ports over here. And then you have the power outlet over here. Just don't stick your finger there unless you wanna.
You don't want to go to Mugen heaven.
Yeah. And then one of the other biggest changes is that this has wireless Apple CarPlay.
Yes, that's absolutely right. The old one, you needed a wire to connect your smartphones. This one actually has wireless Apple CarPlay, and the screen itself is now treated with an anti-fingerprint coating.
Oh, really? Okay. So testing it live. If you really force a fingerprint, you're gonna get a fingerprint. But when you start swiping, it doesn't show those weird swipe marks that that accumulate throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The thing with Honda is, and it shows in the city, is that how they made the vehicle really centered around the human being. So it's all about usability. I mean, you've driven this car before, and you could say that it is ergonomically sound, right? The steering wheel, the gauges, everything just works. Everything just clicks to the driver.
If I remember what I said before, it's very Honda in that sense, where it's all about practicality centered to the driver. And now with Honda sensing to the passengers as well.
Correct. I mean, if there's only one thing, and it's a very little gripe that I would have with this, and it's something shared with the other versions of the Honda City as well, is I don't understand why they actually put the physical controls of the audio system on the wrong side.
Yeah, I would have put it here actually on the left side where the driver is.
Yes, but that aside, it's a great car.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
So I guess we'll have to move on to the MG3 and see what it has to offer.
let's go
All right.
for it.
So now we're inside the MG3, and now pretty much MG took on the lessons that they've learned from their other EVs and put it in their first ever subcompact hatchback. So you would see things like the over-reliance on the touchscreen, which honestly, it's one of the things I don't like.
Yeah, because for example, like we were just shooting a while ago, we had to change the settings of the aircon. With the Honda City, it's just a knob or a button. Here, you have to go through the menu. So you have to press this to go to a menu.
Yeah.
And then from here, you have to swipe to go to the menu to change the settings. And it's just cumbersome that way. There are just too many steps to do to get a simple thing done.
Yeah, it's even worse when you're like considering you have to have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, because the screen, once that you go in the smartphone mode, everything disappears. So things like the climate control, everything, they just disappear on screen. So you have to press the home button first and then fiddle with the temperature control.
Oh, that's like one too many steps in my opinion.
Yeah, well, as that aside, you can pretty much see how the EVs kind of like influence their layout here. It's the same all digital gauge cluster here. It's 7 inches to the driver, 10.25 here at the center. You also get the floating steering wheel right here. I mean, there is no stock.
I'd say,
Yeah, there's no stock right here. So it's one of those unique things. In terms of interior build quality, it feels solid, but the material used could be better.
Like the whole team was saying a while ago, it's like it looks good, but once you start touching it, it's like, I hope this lasts as long as the car.
Yeah, I mean, there was really no attempt to kind of hide its Econobox origins, and I guess it's one of the little things that you could say that's not really pretty with the MG3.
Yeah, yeah. So, which gives like a point to the Honda City hatchback in this head-to-head. But what I do like, this floating instrument cluster, I actually, like the past few cars I've been trying, it's like in the EV side, I've been embracing it because compared to the traditional dashboard, you have to like look deep into the instrument cluster. This one's like right there. It's a cleaner look.
Yes, and of course, what I like is they actually integrated USB Type-C ports, which you don't get in the Honda City hatchback. And aside from that, there's a lot more flexibility with regards to cubby holes because, for example, the cup holders right here, the divider is removable. So if you don't plan to like drink your Starbucks inside your car, that's fine because you can put your phones right here in the middle.
Oh, nice.
Probably the only thing that's missing here would be a wireless charger, to be honest.
Yeah, but other than that, I think it's also transferable here. Is it? No, it's not.
No,
Okay.
the one here in the middle though, there is also a divider that you can move, and there's also a tray that goes up and down or slides here. So
Oh God! So in terms of storage flexibility for the driver, I think it's more here than there.
yes, that's true. Especially if you want to hide stuff, like when you park the car in a not so safe location, the MG3 is a better car because you can hide like your little stuff like your wallet and something like that.
Yeah. Then how do you feel about this rotary transmission or selector?
Well, the rotary shifter is something that they've also done in their EV, so it does take some getting used to. Overall, once you get used to it, it's fine. There are some advantages though, like for example, when you put the car in park, the handbrake goes up automatically. So those are the little things that make driving a bit easier. But for those who are used to the usual PRND shifter, it does take some getting used to.
Yeah. Okay. So
I guess with that, we'll have to see what the rear seats offer, starting with the City hatchback again.
Okay, let's go. Okay, now that we're in the back seat of the Honda City hatchback, I must say, this was to my seating configuration a while ago, and I still have a lot of legroom and a good amount of headroom over here.
Yeah, I mean, for the audience, just how tall are you again, Nix?
6 feet.
Oh, there you go. Imagine that you still have this amount of legroom.
Estimate around 3 inches more. Like that, and that's a lot, especially with this category.
Yeah, and then you have to consider that the middle right here is almost flat. It's not completely flat, but it's almost flat. So fitting 3 people abreast would actually be possible in this car.
Yeah, we can actually put Jen pa here, I think. But I mean, we'll still be like struggling. But
yes,
we can.
but you can, right? And what I like about this car is that it's got a rear armrest, which you don't get in the MG3.
Oh, and then you have the cup holders over here and then bottle holders here. Nice.
Yeah, I guess if there is a little problem here is I don't understand why Honda did not fit USB ports at the back.
I can see why, because I guess for people like me, I have my own like charging charging port, and those charging ports can actually like charge laptops and like gear. So I can see why they opted to put two power outlets, but I would have wanted the configuration just like the front, where there are two USBs and one power outlet. They could have done the same here to appease both sides of the party.
Yeah, right. I mean, who would bring like a 12-volt car charger nowadays, right? Everybody just
Exactly.
brings a USB cable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So now that we've actually done some seat time in the rear seats of the City hatchback, let's hop over to the MG3.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see the MG3's rear seats. Oh my God.
All right.
That was a
Okay.
little bit of a struggle.
So yes, I guess that is the first problem of the MG3. It has a longer wheelbase than Honda City hatchback, but I guess where did all that
Yeah.
space go, right?
No, but like when I was trying to get into the car, that I noticed that with the City hatchback, it was easy. And then with this one, there's so much space used here and used here
Yeah.
that I found myself digging in. Compared to the City hatchback, I just had to slide in. Now that we have both cars together, we can really see the difference.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Nix. I mean, the seats themselves are actually okay, but I have to say, where did the knee room go? I mean, this is the same seating position that you had in the City, and this one, it has considerably less space.
Yeah, and especially for me, I was in the passenger seat a while ago, and I definitely have less leg room here. And headroom also. Even anecdotally, I can tell you it feels more crammed here.
So just imagine for a guy like me who would wear hair gel all day, it'll be a messy hair each time I get in and out of the
Imagine
MG3.
when you get out of the car, it's like,
Yeah,
here's
right.
like that.
So yeah, I mean, aside from that, it's a shame because it's got 3-point seat belts for everyone, 3 headrests for everyone. But take note, there is no center armrest right here.
Oh, there. And you also have aircon vents here, but you only have one USB port over
Yeah,
here.
one USB port and no 12-volt charger.
Yeah, so I guess in that regard, what would you pick? This scenario or that scenario?
Again, I used to bring my own 12-volt chargers, but I think I could count it's been since pre-pandemic since I brought one. So I would have to say the USB charger
Really?
is,
I would say this? Okay, personally, I'd go for the volt socket over there.
You're more old school that way, Nix.
I feel old. But yeah, in that regard, I guess it's safe to say when it comes to like rear passenger, the City is slightly better. I don't want to say that like it's way better. It's slightly better because like for what this car is going to be, like what are the odds of you filling it up with passengers, right? And like it's going to be few and far between because at the end of the day, city cars, you really notice that people like just drive alone.
That's true. Now that we've actually tackled both interior and exterior aspects of both vehicles, we'll get to the most important aspect, which is the drive, starting with a Honda City.
Let's go.
Yeah, so the Honda City hatchback uses the same tried and tested formula from before, right? I mean, it's a 1.5-liter double overhead cam, 4-cylinder engine, 120 horsepower, 145 Newton meters of torque, CVT transmission. It's pretty much run-of-the-mill, right, Nix?
Yeah. I mean, like just like most of the Hondas, the CVT and like the double overhead camshaft on the smaller cars, it's a recipe that it's so good. Why change it?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, I wish they could have provided a bit more like kick, but for an everyday driving, I guess it would be okay. But what I like about the City best is its refinement.
Oh,
It is supposed to be a small car, but it just doesn't behave like a small car. The driving position is perfect, the controls are perfect, and the car's behavior is just top notch. It pretty much feels like you're driving a Civic or or any other nice compact car out there.
Yeah, like especially with the Honda people, there's like this like term that it drives like a Honda.
Yeah, it's not just a marketing term. I would
Yeah.
have to say it's completely real because
Yeah.
it's the same character that you get in other Honda vehicles, like as I mentioned earlier, the Civic or maybe the CRV.
So just like my recently tested Honda CRV, the suspension was firm but not stiff. So, it absorbs the imperfections well, but at the same time, you have that confidence when you're driving.
Yeah, and I think it's unique to the City now. Well, not unique to the City, but I think unique to Honda is that it has a one-button econ mode. So if you are like fuel miser, you want to conserve as much fuel as you can when you're driving in the city, you can activate this one button right here. It doesn't just change the mapping of the engine and the transmission's behavior, but it also modifies things like the behavior of your air conditioning. So if you notice, I turned the econ mode off.
Yeah.
The air conditioning actually just got a bit louder.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know about that.
Mm.
I thought it was just more in the how the drivetrain handles the power.
Yeah, no, so a lot of people are giving the City flack because it has rear drum brakes. Personally, I think that's overrated because as long as the brakes work, they're okay. Maybe if you're into track driving, the four-wheel disc brakes would be better, but
Not necessarily.
yeah, but as it stands, it's actually pretty okay.
Yeah.
Again, if anything, the weak point of the Honda City is that compared to the other offerings in the segment out there, especially the MG3, is that it doesn't have auto hold. So, I mean, in stop and go traffic, that could be a bit problematic. That could be a bit a pain on your right foot.
Okay, well, but then like for a driver like me that just wants something like good drivetrain wise, I think the Honda City Hatchback delivers that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been delivering it for the past 2 to 3 years. Why change it?
I absolutely agree.
Now that I have a little time with this car, I can see what you're saying, that the Honda City Hatchback is more refined.
Mm-hmm.
So, to backtrack a little bit though, like this is actually a good car. It drives well. I like the steering's on the softer side, so it's not as tiring to drive. The power delivery, the seamlessness between the EV mode and the gas mode, they're really good. But then the suspension, it's more on the stiff side.
Yes,
and then
it
when you
is,
start
it is.
turning, you can actually feel the body roll, like playing along. And then the steering, it's not as, what's the word?
It's not as precise.
There, yeah, it's not as precise compared to the Honda City Hatchback. That one, there was like a level of precision on like where you wanted it to go, it will go. This one, there's like a little play to be had.
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage of this car, without a doubt, would be its hybrid engine. As it stands, it's 190 horsepower in total. The 1.5 liter engine makes about 102, so that's even lower than the City.
Yeah.
But for most of the driving, it relies on an electric motor, 136 horsepower. So
Wow.
the electric motor itself is even more powerful than the City's entire output. Then you have the torque,
Yeah.
250 Newton meters. So that's easily plus 100 Newton meters over the,
That's
the
a
City
lot,
hatchback.
especially
So
in a segment like this.
that's
And
absolutely
you feel
right.
it, like driving it. It really feels like you have all the power that you need. Like if I need to like cut traffic, I have the power. If I need to go smooth, it will do the same. In that
And-
regard,
Yeah, and because it is a very advanced hybrid, I would have to say it's one of the most advanced hybrids out there, probably even better than Toyota or Honda's hybrids. The fuel economy of this car is actually not so bad. I mean, it's 15 kilometers per liter in the city.
versus your 9.5 for the City Hatchback.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, as a side note, this one uses a lithium-ion battery that's 1.8 kilowatt hour. That's, for reference, bigger than the Corolla Altises or even the CRV RS EHEVs.
Yeah, and with those numbers, like it's easy to say or conclude if you're looking for a city car that's very fuel efficient. I mean, with those numbers alone, it's easy to see why you would go for the MG3. And yeah, like I know a while ago we were talking about like the interior,
Mhm.
on like the plastics and all, but like as you keep driving it, you start to not mind it anymore. And when it comes to the drive, it's good.
Yeah, I think that is what MG is trying to get at here. I mean, maybe the interior is not as well built as the Honda City yet, but they're starting to get the mechanicals right. And anyone who knows cars would know that it's the mechanical bits that would be harder to tune. So, given the fact that MG is able to get those things right nowadays, imagine what they could do maybe a generation or two.
Yeah,
down
that's
the
what I'm
road.
excited to see. Like at least here in CarGuide.PH, we're very agnostic to like where the car's from. We just test the cars based on what we see, and what we see from where they were coming from before, it's leaps and bounds.
Yeah, a little side comment here, and I don't know if you did notice that in the audio earlier, you would hear that incessant beeping that occurred. So yes, because both vehicles do have their own ADAS systems. The MG system, it's called the MG Pilot. It's a bit more sensitive and it's got more features. So the one that was beeping earlier is the traffic sign recognition, which is great when you're driving in maybe Europe
Yeah.
or Japan or something. But because you're here in the Philippines, it can't exactly read all the signs because we're not much into the global standard.
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly. I was about to say that because like we don't have our standards for the signs here as as good as the international countries.
Yeah, so because of that, the car tends to throw these warnings left and right. And although you can shut them off like what I did earlier, somehow when you turn the car off and turn it back on, it defaults to everything on again. So I guess if you would buy an MG3, it's one of the things that you have to do. It's part of your startup procedure nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. Or just live with it.
Yeah, or just live with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can see what you mean by, like, this is not bad, but this also shows that the city's really refined.
Yeah, if only you could get the engine of this car and the chassis of the City together, that would be a perfect car.
Oh, that would be like the
Yeah?
perfect formula.
So just imagine if Honda decided to bring in their hybrid City.
Hint, hint.
Right?
I also
So Nick, what
wanted
do you
something
think
very
after
useful.
driving both of
And
these
with
two
that being
vehicles?
said, I would actually pick the City Hatchback over the MG3. Though it's fantastic, if you're also looking at the utilitarian aspect, wherein you're doing a city drive and you want like efficiency above everything else, that's where it will solve most of that. But that's something I'm not looking for exactly for a second car. So between the two, although the MG3 did a fantastic job on the city drive, oddly, when it comes to like for the city car for me, it would be here with the City Hatchback RS. That's something I'm not looking for exactly for a second car. Really? So between the two, although the MG3 did a fantastic job on the city drive, oddly, when it comes to like for the city car for me, it would be here with the City Hatchback RS.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on those points, but I'm actually leaning 50-50 between the City and the MG3. In fact, if I'll be very honest, I'm leaning more towards the MG3, mainly because it is a surprising performer. I mean, 190 horsepower compared to 120 on this one. I mean, you can't beat that. And of course, the value. It's 100,000 pesos less. And again, it's about the usage. For me, I don't care much about the flexibility that the rear seats of the City would offer.
It will be amazing to see like in the next 5 years
so
how
it has those limitations, but I can live with those.
In the long game.
What I'm more impressed with is the level of
I guess that's
technology
about it
that
with
MG
the
was able
head-to-head
to cram
between
at
the
this price.
MG3
And for me,
and the
bottom
Honda
line,
City
that's a wake-up call to
Hatchback
the
RS.
Japanese brands
Guys,
out there.
put in the comment section down below what you think, which do you prefer, which are you planning to buy and why, and we'll see you on the next video.
Exactly.
I guess that's about it with the head-to-head between the MG3 and the Honda City Hatchback RS. Guys, put in the comment section down below what you think, which do you prefer, which are you planning to buy and why, and we'll see you on the next video.